Well, good afternoon. We're here today to talk with you about the Carlisle High School Band. So why don't you start by just introducing yourself?
I'm Harold Lesher, and I lived in Carlisle for 66 years. But I have been a resident in Cumberland County all my life.
All your life. You graduated from Carlisle High School in what year?
In 1940.
1940. And as I have learned in the last couple months, you were also a member of the high school band.
That is correct.
What instrument did you play here?
I played trumpet.
The trumpet. That's a good choice of instruments. Did you have any offices while you were in the band? Like,
Well, during my senior year, I don't know how it happened, but I guess there's a record saying I was president of the band.
you were band
I was
president.
band president.
Do you
1940.
remember having to make any decisions or meetings or anything about that time?
I don't think there were a lot of decisions that I had to make at that time.
Okay.
Someone evidently did make decisions.
Okay. Great. Do you recall when the band practiced? Were they before school, after school, or just solely during the school day?
Most of our rehearsals were inside, outside, but at any rate, when football season came, it was all outside,
Okay.
where we practiced marching, playing on Moreland Avenue. And we would reverse ourselves and go the opposite direction, and we would go toward Walnut Bottom Road.
Okay, so the high school was located over off Moreland Avenue?
It was
then?
located on, actually, Graham Street
Okay,
and Moreland Avenue.
okay,
It faced Graham Street.
okay. So
And
that's,
I suspect a lot of people didn't even know that or even know it now. But it was Graham Street was the front.
okay, very interesting. So when you had your marching band practices, was that while school was in session, or did you come after school, or both?
Well, it was mostly in the morning, and we had to come early so we could get at the rehearsal before
Okay.
school started.
Okay, excellent. Well, share us more memories of your high school band days. You were in the band for 4 years, is that correct?
I was in the band for 3 years.
3 years?
Yes.
Okay, and you graduated in 1940. Okay, so you had 3 years graduating in 1940. Well, tell us any of the memories you still have of things the band did or you would like to share with us.
Well, we did a lot of parades. And looking back, I think there were more parades then than now.
Okay,
But I think we participated in most parades. And especially was the Christmas parade,
right here in Carlisle.
right here in Carlisle.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
We did have one occasion that I can remember, and I think most were thrilled because we had an invitation to parade in downtown Harrisburg.
Okay,
And I guess to get out of Carlisle into Harrisburg was very, very noticeable and appreciated.
and
But we had an invitation to parade for a governor's inaugural parade.
oh my, how exciting. Do you remember which governor that might
I
have been?
wish I knew,
Okay,
but I can't recall.
Okay.
I only have an inkling, and I will not mention the name because I possibly would be wrong.
okay, okay.
But at any rate, when we got dropped off, we were east of the bridge. I'm talking about the State Street Bridge.
Mm-hmm.
We were unloaded at almost the top of the hill. And then when it was time, we were told that it's time to move into the procession. But I can remember that long walk. Of course, it was downhill, but we had to cross the State Street Bridge. And it seemed like forever, walking across the State Street Bridge.
Do you
Then
remember?
we still had 2 or 3 blocks, long blocks, before we even got downtown.
Right. Do you remember if it was a cold day? It seems like in the past when...
No, it wasn't a cold day. It was a relaxing day.
Okay. Well, then you must have lucked out because many of these inaugural
I can
parades-
remember one incident in which one of the members of the tuba section decided to bring a snack. So he had his sandwich wrapped up with a string attached. And he housed that in the bell. And when he was ready and had an opportunity, he pulled on the string and he got the sandwich out of the bell. I can recall that very vividly.
That's a great story. I've never heard anything quite like that. I'm hoping I don't hear it again either.
I don't know if the director even knew it.
That's hilarious, because I know in past bands that have done inaugural parades, it's been really cold days, so you guys lucked out. You also made mention to me a while back about the Carlisle Memorial Day Parade. You
Yes.
had some memories about that. Can
Yes.
you share that with us
Yes.
again?
That particular parade was a must for all students. At that time, when Memorial Day appeared, all students from all schools in Carlisle paraded. It was a school day. Therefore, the teachers would have their homeroom group to get together. They would enter the parade. It all started at the high school. If I remember correctly, the band started and everybody filled in afterwards. The groups would enter and we'd continue.
Wow.
Quite a few of the high school and actually junior high school would carry bouquets of spring flowers. Then as we got out of the area, we entered the downtown area where we picked up the elementary schools. So it turned out to be a parade of students.
That is huge.
Mostly.
I'm
Very-
sure a lot of people don't know this.
We did that apparently for years before I even entered high school. And even possibly when the war came, it could have been deleted. I don't have a record of that. But if you were absent that day, it was recorded as an absentee. You're absent from school.
Right.
And I suspect that nowadays, it would be a different story. But at any rate, it was a must.
That's
And
very
everybody
interesting.
knew that.
Very interesting. Where did you march to? Did you go down?
We marched downtown. I would suspect some side streets, and of course, Main Street or High Street, and Hanover Street.
Right.
And we would end up going down South Hanover Street. That was toward the end of our parade.
Okay.
We would parade to was known at that time as the Old Graveyard.
Okay.
And there we would disband. As each group came to the cemetery, they would disband. That was the end of the parade. It was interesting to see all of the elementary pupils carry bouquets of flowers. And then they would go into the graveyard and put them on graves.
How about that?
A very interesting, something I'll remember forever.
How about that? That is very interesting that the entire school community was involved in the Memorial Day
That's right.
event. Were there a lot of townspeople that came out to watch the parade and enjoy it?
Absolutely.
Okay. Big event.
A lot of moms and dads,
Mhm.
and I can see why.
Mhm.
Very proud,
Yes.
very proud citizens on Memorial Day.
How about that? How about that? Do you remember any special awards that maybe the band won or recognitions?
I'm sure we did have some awards, but I don't recall exactly what awards we got,
Okay.
and I just don't recall at the
Right,
present time.
right. How about your uniform? Could you describe the band uniform from that era?
Well, it consisted of a military style.
Mm-hmm.
It starts off with a green jacket or coat, and the left lapel was quite large, and it laid over on your left breast.
Okay.
And of course, when it was laid over, it was then white. The lapel was white.
Okay.
The background was green.
Mm-hmm.
We had a white leather belt,
Okay.
and we had white trousers with a green stripe
How about
on
that?
the outside of the leg. The cap was green
Mhm.
with white trim, and of course with a visor.
Right. Right.
So it was militaristic looking.
Mhm. Did you wear black shoes or white shoes or?
I think at the time, either black or brown was satisfactory.
Okay.
The more I thought about it since, it should have been white.
Right.
At that time of the year, or in 1940, I guess there wasn't too much extra money
I
for
would-
parents to buy special white shoes
Right.
just for the
Right.
band.
It's very interesting, the description of the uniform, because through the years, the band has been going back and forth between like a dark green jacket, a white jacket, dark trousers, white trousers. It's, as I look back on the history of the band and see all these different uniforms there, they've changed, but not a whole lot. It's very interesting that they've kept that combination of green and white and tops dark, bottoms light or whatever, and the number of white trousers have been used through the years, because I know that was always a panic during my time with white trousers, because how do we keep them clean? How do we
Yes.
keep them clean? So you have to work pretty hard to keep white trousers clean. But it's interesting that they've had that for so many other years. How about your band director? Do you remember much about your band
The
director?
band director that I can recall was a female,
Okay.
and she was in charge of the band.
Do you remember her name?
Yes. Her name was King, so it was a Miss King.
Miss King, and I think her first name was Myrna.
Myrna, you're correct.
Myrna King. How about that?
And she had a sister who was also in music. I found out later.
Okay.
But a very, very nice individual.
Was she a strict person when it comes to, marching correctly and how you stand and all that, or?
I'll put it this way, not as strict as I would have had it.
Okay.
I guess for some reason or other, I was pretty much a strict person in marching.
Okay.
I like to march,
Right.
and the lines need to be straight. And if I remember correctly, those on the right end of each row
Mm-hmm.
was in charge of spacing,
Okay. That makes sense.
and everybody to your left then would
Follow you.
follow my my cadence.
Did you walk on the right-hand side? Were you
I
on-
happened to be one of the right-hand leaders.
See, that's why you were president of the band, Harold.
Well, maybe that was it. I know she commented on occasions.
There you go. What else do you remember about Miss King? Was she an instrumentalist? Would she play along with you?
No, she didn't.
She did not, okay.
And of course, she was not in uniform.
Correct. Did she get lessons during the day or just a full band rehearsal during your school day?
If she gave lessons, I was not aware of it.
Okay, so that might not have been part of the music program at that time.
And that's what I'm thinking.
Right. So was she your band director all 3 years you were in the
Yes.
band? Okay.
She's the only one I can remember,
Okay.
so she must have been.
She was the one. Do you recall if there was a band parent organization at that time?
To my knowledge, there wasn't.
Okay.
If there was, I wasn't aware of it.
Okay, so there probably wasn't a big need to do a lot of fundraising for trips or special activities or things like that. That's probably why it really didn't exist. Were your parents pretty strict with you about how you take care of your uniform?
Well, I think they were.
Okay,
I don't think they had to be too much concerned because I was pretty proud
excellent.
to be a member of the band.
Did you feel like there was a lot of pride among the band members being part of that
I think
organization?
most of them had a lot of pride.
Excellent, yes. It's really interesting that
I'm
you
sure
meant
they
that.
felt like I did.
Yeah.
It was an honor to be in the band.
How about that? Excellent. Do you have any other specific memories of your band days that you want to share with us? Anything else that sticks in your mind?
There was one other remark that I might make. I recall in the evening, after the parade was over, we would march to the cemetery at Westminster Cemetery.
Okay,
And that was a long hike.
I was just going to say, that's a long way to go.
And then when it got close to the cemetery, we would slow the cadence down, very slow, and we'd play, if I am correct, a funeral march.
Okay,
I can't tell you who wrote the funeral march. I'd love to know.
mhm,
But the funeral march, I can remember distinctly. And then we would return down. We'd have to march back then.
march back. That was a long day. It's a very long day.
And of course, we were alone because no students did that. We were in control of the highway. When
Okay,
all cars would pull over to the side until we passed.
how about that?
So we were in control.
You were in control, as it should be. The band should be in control.
And maybe at that time, there weren't too many automobiles on the road.
Do you recall how big the band was?
I would say anywhere from 50 plus.
Okay, okay,
I remember, in most cases, we marched with 6 abreast.
okay. You had majorettes with the band at that time?
We had some majorettes.
Mhm. Would you have had flag bearers, like carrying the American flag, for example? What we would call the honor guard in today?
We didn't really have an honor guard.
Okay,
Of course, we had cheerleaders.
okay, they marched along with
They
the
were
band?
part.
Oh, how
They
about
were
that?
part of the band.
Okay, all right. When you performed at football games, how was the crowd reacting to the band's performance? Do you recall if they were
Well, I think they enjoyed
enjoyed it?
the routines.
Okay,
I wouldn't say we had a large number of routines that we depended on, but we had routines for every
Okay.
football game.
Okay,
And with our practicing in the morning,
right.
we would go over to the athletic field and go through the routines. And the nice big wide street, after you passed Walnut Street, I think it was.
Okay.
From there all the way to the one at Bottom Road, it was nice and wide. We'd spread out oftentimes and do the routines. Because
Wow.
at that time, there were practically no houses on that street.
Of course, that's right, yeah. Did, when you did your routines, was it pretty much the same each football game? Or did you change your routine every couple weeks or every
Yeah.
week or?
It was pretty much this, we would always include certain routines,
Okay,
and then we'd add something else.
okay, that's what I thought.
But we didn't spend a lengthy period of time,
Right,
because we allowed the other band to do the same.
of course, of course. Did you memorize your music or did you have your music on little, what we called lyre stands that you?
Well, it appeared as though a lot of the band members had their music in front of them.
Okay, all right, that makes sense.
But it got to the point where I just memorized everything.
Mhm.
I enjoyed that.
Mhm. Were you a first trumpeter?
I was the first trumpeter.
See, there again, there's another reason why you were president of the band. There's first
And of course, I
trumpets.
guess the senior year, I supposedly was a solo trumpeter.
Oh, there you go. There you go. You still have your trumpet, Harold?
I still have the trumpet.
Oh, that's great. Oh my, amazing.
My brother had played for a couple of years,
Okay,
and then upon his senior year, I guess he had no use for it. So I took over.
okay,
So it became my trumpet.
there you go. It's not unusual to have it handed down in the family.
But I can remember an incident. I guess I was so excited that it was my trumpet. I ran through the house into the kitchen where my mother was. And wouldn't you know, I tripped. And of course, I did have a couple repairs to make on the trumpet.
I've heard of stories like that through my years as a band director too. How about that?
A couple of the braces
Yes, yeah.
came loose, so they got resoldered.
Yep. Was there a local repair shop you went to?
Yes, I had one. I think I went to Smith's Music
I
House.
was just gonna say, it could very well have been Smith.
That's where it was purchased.
Okay, there you go. How about that? How about that? So you felt like the community was pretty supportive of the band during your years?
I felt as though they
Okay,
were.
because Carlisle has been known to be a band town through the many years, the town band, the high school band.
Correct.
So it was always rewarding for me when the band performed downtown in parades and things. The community would come out and support and cheer, and it really made you feel good.
That's right.
And we felt good about showing what we're doing to our public too. So I guess things like that really haven't changed a whole lot in terms of having pride in what you do
Right.
and community support and things like that.
Supposedly, there's better support now than ever.
Well, I know during my years, I enjoyed great community support.
Good.
I was so appreciative of the Carlisle community. Did you have any other brothers or sisters that played in the band? You said you had a brother that was
I
older.
had a brother.
Uh-huh,
He was the only one.
Okay.
I only had one brother.
okay. Were your parents musically inclined?
Yes, mother played the piano.
Okay,
And I can recall my dad always trying to pick out the tenor parts of a number.
okay,
He got into a men's chorus,
sure.
and maybe that's where I got some of my ability, because I'm always picking out harmony or tenor parts,
There you go.
or putting in some notes that they didn't use.
Okay. Well, you know, sometimes it all starts at home, and if you were growing up in that atmosphere with your mom maybe playing piano and your dad singing in a bit, catch on, catch on. Any other memories you want to share with us before we sign off? And
I think that covers it pretty well.
okay, this is an important conversation we're having today, Harold, because now we have captured some moments in time from the 1940 band that many of us would never have known, or have been able to even find that information, you know, about the whole school marching in Memorial Day Parade, and who your director was, and you know, having someone to speak about that person. This is something that I felt it's important to capture as much of the history of the band as possible. So I really thank you for coming in today, sharing your experiences with the band, and this will be able to be shared with future generations and other people that might be interested in where the high school band started and where they came from. So Harold, thank you so much. I'm so appreciative that you agreed to do this interview.
Thank you for asking me.
Absolutely.